I'm gonna go with a vibe pick on this one, and I'm just gonna. I think the Sacramento Kings are the moment. The Sacramento Kings, starting with the De'Aaron. I think really the De'Aaron Fox game winner in Orlando. And their whole season making the playoffs for the first time. The celebration around that, light the beam, just like all of the stuff around them. The fact that we keep seeing Sabonis and him like talking in the media and doing all these different things. Like we have not seen something I think like this. And these guys getting kind of the respect I think they deserve and the attention I think they deserve. And the fact that they've earned it. And the fact that it just feels like this is something coming out of darkness. This is something coming out of despair and a fan base that like was in a weird spot and a franchise and players that were in a really tough spot. This is, again, one of those things that it's like there's not like it's very hard to always find things that are applicable to this, right? Like it is hard to always find like there aren't many franchises that were in as long of a rut and as dire of a rut as the Sacramento Kings. And this season has been them lifting themselves out of it. And Mike Brown, this guy who's been around, he's been coaching in the league for 20 years as a head coach a couple times. Him being the guy to unlock this and be the right voice for them. This is the beginning of something, hopefully, in Sacramento. I would like this, hopefully they keep building, get better. But this kind of the newness, the shine of it, it's going to be hard to ever see that recreated to me. So I have this as one of my moments this whole season for the Sacramento Kings.
I had it as well. I had them making the playoffs, as the one if I was to suck it in. But I liked the Fox game winner. I mean, that's one of the signature like highlights of the season for sure. And it's cool to me too. You mentioned those other teams that have had the droughts, like the Mariners in baseball just got over the hump with theirs. Even the Suns, when they made the finals that year, it was going on a 10-year drought. So I have some experience. But I think the unique thing with Sacramento is the fact that they also were in a city and a community that's kind of easy to make into a laughingstock, right? Because like Seattle doesn't really need the Mariners to be good to be like taken seriously, quote unquote. They have Amazon, they have Starbucks, they're a big city, they have beautiful weather and tourist destinations and a big port that people take cruises from. Like there's all these things, right? Nobody needs to like have a good baseball team to feel like Seattle is respectable, but the Kings. They're associated with, or Sacramento is associated with the Kings. That's kind of one and one, hand in hand. And so I think it's cool to be able to kind of say F you, right? Like the team and the community and the city to be able to say like, you don't laugh at us anymore. Like we have this, and not like you're pointing out with the light the beam and how fun the team is and how young it is and scrappy and everything else. Like it's also, it doesn't feel like a joke or an accident. Like they're really here. They have an identity. They play cohesive basketball. Yes, it's, very lopsided toward offense and you can pick all the nits you want about the postseason, but there's still something to be said for, we know what the Kings are as a basketball team, right? Like anyone who cares about the NBA is going to say, oh yeah, damn, they score the hell out of the ball. Fox is crazy, this and that. And like, there's even these small things about the season, like Fox being obscene in the clutch. I just pulled it up to get the accurate current numbers. He's 30 points ahead of anyone else in clutch points as of right now toward the end of the season. Keegan Murray has more threes made than any rookie. Who saw that coming? That's like a crazy record with Donovan Mitchell and Damian Lillard and stuff on that list. The Mike Brown factor that you pointed out, even like Kevin Huerter trade that they just kind of stole him from Atlanta and all of a sudden he's really good. And so I guess it's all just sort of like to see the pieces put together. This isn't an accident of a season. I had one question for you though, and this kind of got my mind thinking because I read the Baxter Holmes piece on load management that came out on Tuesday. And he pointed out, there was a quote in there about how teams are always either tanking or pushing for a championship. And that was a way to put the load management phenomenon that I'd never really thought about, Chris, of like, there's either the incentive to shut guys down, to slow roll their minutes, or to hold them out so they're fresh for the postseason. And because of that, there's never an incentive to have somebody go all out if they're a star player. And then I thought of the Kings, and I'm like, well, there's the incentive. Like, it's no wonder to me that this is kind of the most fun team of the regular season for a lot of people because they had everything to play for and they fucking acted like it. Like, you know what I mean? They came out there every night and you were like, yeah, this is hunger. This is like drive to try to be great at this. And in a season where we talk so much about all this BS on the periphery of it, of like, should players be resting, and is it really working, and Kawhi, is it the devil, and all this, it's like, well, just turn on the Kings and like kind of forget about all that for a little while. And I feel like a lot of NBA fans really did that on a nightly basis.
And look, I think the Kings can be an example, and like I understand why teams tank. I don't really love it, but I think one of the things with the NBA that I maybe I'm just getting old and grumpy, but one of the things like that I get frustrated
people, if they're
by,
listening to this, are gonna think you're 55 the way you talk about things.
Well,
you're not. You look very boyish. You're a very young, strapping lad, Chris. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Yeah, I know. I'm about to be 30, and I'm not really that old, but like I've noticed like a shift where it's just like I just get like I think it's like cheating out fan bases when these teams just like don't care, and like I don't understand like why we're asking like these teams to always care about stuff in these instances, right? Like I'm just like what are we doing here? Why are some of these teams just like getting passes for like taking years off and like not trying to be competitive? It's one of the things about the NFL is like weird is like the NFL can get at times and teams take a step back. Like it's like teams like culturally like that sport cannot tank. And it's like wrong to me almost that like in the NBA we can see teams tank. Like that just feels sometimes very off to me. And like the Sacramento Kings obviously had a lot of years being bad and often not on purpose and had star players go there. Like Boogie at his peak at Sacramento was like an incredible player. And, you know, like they had Halliburton and like then they make that trade. And like all of this is like non-linear. But like they found success and like built and like it seems like are banking on the institutions kind of winning out and like actually trying to establish accountability and culture and purpose. And it's like, funny how that can work, you know? So I am just very pro like how the Sacramento Kings have gone about their business. And I think other teams that are trying to get out of ruts should look at the Kings as an example. Houston Rockets talking to you.
Yeah, right. Anyone. I mean, I think you're right. Like, you know, the
Dallas
owner had to
Mavericks.
give
Dallas Mavericks talking to you.
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking about when you said the point about, you know, taking time off or delegitimizing a season and what the fans think. It's like, you know, the Mavs, it sounds like Luka's going to continue to play. Both Kyrie and Luka are probable for this game, this huge game on Wednesday night against, coincidentally, the Sacramento Kings.
Did you see the Luka getting asked about Jalen Brunson, by the way?
I did, yeah. Great player, great guy. We miss him. Big difference since he left, yeah. But, like, that's the kind of thing that I think people rightly cast aspersions on around the NBA is, like, the idea that the minute that Portland got within sniffing distance of a tasty young player to go get their hands on, it's like, all right, Damian Lillard, who's given X to us as, you know, maybe one of the best players in franchise history, see you next year. It's like, come on. Like, you know, so I agree. Sacramento has been that hungry kind of team pushing the envelope all year, and they deserve a lot of credit for that.